What's up, everybody? Welcome back to What Do You Know with Nick and Devin. I am Nick.
I'm Devin.
Hell yeah, we're getting funky.
You know, it's going to be wild when I come in and edit this. A little behind the screens for everybody. Is that like the video is just going to be us. It's going to be a little tricky to line up because there's no audio coming to the video of that sound effect. And so it's just going to be like us kind of just like sitting and chilling. And then you're going to do your little disc jockey intro. So it's going to be really awkward if you're watching it on Spotify or YouTube. But if you're only listening to it, if you're not looking at your phone while listening to our podcast, it's still going to be weird because we're going to have our intro music fading in or fading out over this.
It's going to be so good. And I do love the plug to Spotify video. And you should still watch it because I think it would be great because my voice is very animated, but my movement is just staring at my laptop. So static and boring.
And I'm just like slouched down in my chair like Jabba the fucking Hutt.
We do call him Jabba sometimes. What do you call it? I do see those are the moments where I'm like, I could do the whole voice acting thing because I just stand there and I don't have to like move around. But it does help to like from the theater days, you know what I mean? Yeah, whatever. But you'd be the better voice actor, clearly.
Maybe.
You clearly have the more superior voice. Don't be humble about it. All right, but speaking of funky music, speaking of music in general.
Oh, sick, yeah.
Sick. I started saying that at work, and I need to stop doing that. My question to you is, if you were to pick one song to use as...
Jesus Christ. I'm out
to
of
use
here.
as a like political activist kind of song. Like you're trying to like ease tensions. Like you're trying to go out there and like I'm gonna do it through song.
Oh, to ease tension?
Yeah. Like you're trying to like fix it. You're trying to repair things.
Oh.
So it's like kind of revolution because you're like, I need to like rally the people, but also like ease things.
See, I don't like those songs though because well, here's my explanation. Because like
my question then.
No, I'll answer your question, but I'm going to do it my way.
Okay. Thanks, Frank.
So the thing about protest songs is that like those ones are the good ones because they're like this shit's fucked up. The fat cats down in Washington are bullshit. Like the society's fucked up. Yeah, the thing about like the peace songs, the calm down songs, you get the bullshit like "We Are the World,"
sure,
where everyone like they just don't have. They're so bleh. They're just so blah. You know, like when you have a protest song, or any of the songs about like, especially from like the 60s and 70s about like the Korean and Nam wars. Like they're just so full of emotion and like a want for a better time. And then when you have those peace songs like, come on, everybody, let's like, and then you have these stupid fucking celebrity cameos. It's like in 2020 when
everyone sang Imagine.
Yeah, everyone it was in lockdown and like the celebrities tried to sing Imagine. That was so cringy and fucking stupid and blah. That song is already blah and way overplayed.
Wow.
I don't really like John Lennon. So
bleep that out. I think what do you call it? I thought it was like, I get why people are doing it. I understand. But the best part, which totally tanks everything they try to do, is that all of them are credited for doing that, like on their IMDb pages. And I'm like, that's not the point of what you did. Imagine video.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's bullshit.
I know,
that's
right?
fucking stupid. Okay, that makes it worse.
100%. So, like, for this question, think about Buffalo Springfield's For What It's Worth.
Okay.
Stop. Hey, what's this? Where it's kind of like a look what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you for stopping singing so we don't have to pay royalties.
I got you. Not the full stanza. What do you call it? So think about it like that sense. Okay. Where it's not like revolution, but it's not like let's all come together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can't I just pick that song? That's like the best one.
Sure, if you want to. If you want to just be like basic like that, that's fine.
Basic? The problem, I think, though, is that I don't think there are any modern versions of that, at least in mainstream.
Sure.
Because the music industry is really ridiculous right now, where it's like you have to sell these hits. That's why you hear the same fucking 4 chords in every song that or that's on the radio today. I think there's a really interesting smaller artist. His name's Jesse Wells, who I found on TikTok, but is now growing a little bit bigger, which is great for him.
Yeah.
Who will just like, his videos are just him and his guitar in like a field in wherever the fuck he lives. And he comes up with these songs very quickly and they're like almost like protest songs, like they're commentary songs on society today. Singing about how like terrible Walmart is, how he has a song, I believe, if I remember correctly, about the attempted assassination on Trump that happened a couple months ago that no one really talks about anymore, which is great.
Hysterical.
And like I think it really is up to, and I know I'm veering off your question again, but like I think it's really up to like those smaller artists that aren't assigned to a label that have the power to be able to create songs like Buffalo Springfield's For What It's Worth, where you won't be able to hear or they won't be on the radio for quite some time.
Sure. Okay, that's fair.
Because like I could list off an artist and only like a handful of people would be like, oh, I know who that is, but they're not on the radio. I don't listen to a lot of artists that are on the radio. I don't really listen to the radio that much anymore.
I didn't say it had to be a top 40 hit. I just said whatever fucking song you want.
Well, I'm just pointing out that it'd be tough to pick out a song from today because of the music industry and the labels.
Okay, so the reason you can't answer this question is because of the music industry? Is that what you're telling me?
Sure, I'll put the blame on them.
Might as well.
But also, like, if you want me to sit and scroll through my Spotify for like 5 minutes,
and then don't cut it. We'll just speed it. Yeah. It's incredible. Well, today,
do you have a song? You don't get out of this question. Do you have a song?
Beautiful answer to this question.
No. Do you have a song in mind? Did you write a song in your fucking notes?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
It's called what we're going to talk about today. That's part of what we're talking about. Oh, is it actually? Yeah. Okay. Dick. Fucking dick. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about a protest song of that nature. We're going to be talking about the Aztecs. And we're going to talk about gay love.
Wow. You're getting your two big ones. Two big ones. Usually the protest one.
You're the protester. Yeah. So today we're going to be focusing on... It kind of started as focusing in on this one guy, and then it kind of opened into more of a branch of kind of a conquest, but not and turning into like a hey, look what you did through song, and then gay love.
Yeah.
As naturally that progression kind of happens.
Conquest to gay love. The American story.
the American story. And you can find that at your local Borders. So it started as we were going to focus on...
Borders isn't around anymore. R.I.P.
Oh, Barnes & Noble.
Barnes & Noble.
Yikes. Yorks. Sorry, Borders. Okay. I liked Borders more than Barnes & Noble. Yeah. And you know why? Because I thought Barnes & Noble was the more expensive one. I thought it was only for like the affluent people. Yeah. Isn't that kind of fucked up?
That's fair.
Yeah. Like that books at that rate, like, oh, I go to the poor bookstore. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like fuck to like grow up and think that way. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Not the point of what we're talking about. Right? We'll talk about libraries later when they were private. So we're going to be talking about Quecholcohuatl, who is a Chalcan musician. So his name means, roughly translated, means flamingo snake.
Wow. I have so many pictures in my head of what a flamingo snake is.
What do you think? Is the snake the neck part? Is the snake the body part? And then you have like a flamingo's neck and like head on the snake?
I think...
Does it have legs? No legs.
No, I think it is a flamingo body with a snake head. Because if you have a flamingo head and neck on a snake, that's just a snake with a bird
beak. Fair. Which one would you rather be then? You'd rather be the flamingo body with the snake head.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of snake head?
Oh, some type of whatever viper would be local to that area.
Sure. Of course, a viper.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Obviously. It has to be vicious. It has to be kind of like...
but he's a musician. He's not vicious. He's all about love, man.
That's fine. That's fine, but I'm imagining this creature. Yeah.
And you're imagining not the size of a flamingo. I feel like you're thinking like bigger.
A little bit bigger.
Yeah.
It has to be a little bit more menacing. And
Sure.
a little bit, I think the snake part adds a little bit more muscle to it as well.
So do we call you Quecholcohuatl?
No, I don't need to. Okay. I'm a white man. I don't need to do that.
That's called appropriation.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about him today, and we're going to be talking about kind of some things leading up to this song that has been prepared and how he became so famous.
Cool.
But he later adopted the Christian name of John Jeronimo after the Spanish conquest. So this is like a real person.
No, I believe you.
I believe you.
It's funny that you were like Christian name John and then like a very Spanish last name. I was like John Smith.
Well, Don. D-O-N. Like the honorific Don.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you now.
Jeronimo.
Thank you.
You got there. So he was known for making peace between the native Altepetl, which is like a city-state.
Yeah.
Of Chalco and Tenochtitlan through song.
Okay.
And this happened in 1479.
Dang. Yeah.
I know. So Chalco is a complex kind of Nahua confederacy in central Mexico.
Yeah.
So it is divided into 4 sub-Altepetl. Mm-hmm. So there is Tlamanalco, there is Amaquemecan, there is Tenanco, there is Chimalhuacan. So there's like 4. So there's like the big city-state.
Yeah.
Then there's like 4 divisions within that.
Sure.
And then those are those 4 divisions. Cool?
Yeah.
Sweet. I just feel like I'm stumbling. I just want to apologize to the people. I feel like I'm stumbling on words. Because there's a lot of like consonants together. Mm-hmm. So like you have a lot of like TLs. You have a lot of like, I'm pronouncing this in Spanish, but there's also a way to kind of pronounce it in Nahuatl as well as like an indigenous language. Yeah. And so sometimes, and this is my fault. So to the people, this is on me. Sometimes I write out the pronunciation. Sometimes I don't, because I feel confident when I'm writing it that when I say it, I go, I got easy. That right. Easy.
I can speak an ancient language.
Done.
Well, also your tongue is a little bit more trained for traditional Spanish than
right. Yeah. And so I'm like, and then you go from like Spanish to English to Nahuatl.
Yeah.
I think the people liked it. We'll just like blur over my face when I did that. Perfect. So just know that there were 4 subdivisions of the city-state.
Sure.
Cool. So these were divided further into kind of smaller divisions, which each Quecholcohuatl, which so there's like the city-state, and then there's a Quecholcohuatl, which is kind of like that subdivision. So each of those had its own Tlatoani, which is like a king.
Sure.
So there's like a lot happening in one general area.
Yeah.
Basically.
A lot Toani going on. If you
will. Uh-huh. So the people of Chalco were known as Chalacatl or Tlaca, which is like the plural version. Okay. So I might use that throughout.
Sure.
I actually don't think I ever say that again, but you know, it's good to know. Yeah, it's good to know. So in the 14th and 15th century, flower wars were fought between the Chalca and the Aztecs people. Okay. What are flower wars, you ask?
Tip of my tongue.
I knew it. I took it and I said it. So flower wars were really kind of known as like flowery death or like a blissful death. Like they were a point of honor. Yeah. And so they were ritual war fought intermittently between the Aztec Triple Alliance and its enemies in the vicinity and regions around Tenochtitlan. Okay. So the enemies included many city-states such as Tlaxcala, Huejotzingo, and Cholula. Okay. Which Cholula, I'm like, let's just keep rocking with that because that's the easiest one to say. Tlaxcala, unfortunately, allied with the Spaniards when they came over against the Aztecs because they were eager to see their longtime flower war enemy overthrown.
Yeah, of course.
So, like, you kind of get it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're like, you didn't know, but, like, don't be a dick.
Yeah, well, I mean, it happened pretty much everywhere that colonization was happening. It was like, well, here comes this bigger force. I'll use them to my advantage. Right. They promised me good things. I don't know that I'm going to get fucked over later.
We'll see. We are. Right. Yeah. So the flower war is known as Xochimilco which again kind of translates to that flowery death, blissful death, as I was talking about before. But these, again, just kind of they were fought as a way, and we're about to get into it, but it really was kind of the Aztec Empire, that Triple Alliance aspect. And we talked about this in an episode way long ago. Yeah. But it fought against regional things, but it wasn't for conquest. It wasn't for like, oh, I'm going to take over and assume you into the empire. It was, we'll talk about it. It was just not the same. Okay. So I just kind of want to throw that out there to get us into the mindset.
Yeah.
So the Texcocan noble gives the fullest statement concerning the origin. So the Aztecs, a lot of this is from him. So Aztecs had suffered from crop failure and severe drought from 1450 to 1454.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, the famine led to famine, not the family. Obviously, the famine led to many deaths. And this nobleman reports that the Flower War began as a response to the famine.
Yeah.
So, quote, the priests of Tenochtitlan said that their god were angry at the empire, and that to placate them, it was necessary to sacrifice many men, and that this had to be done regularly.
Oh.
Yes.
Ooh.
You have to remember also, like, Quecholcohuatl, like, is the main Mexican people god, right? And so he is the ultimate sun god, kind of, but he's also the god of war.
Right.
So a lot of times their way of movement and their way of progression was through war, or what they believed it to be, right? Yeah. So they were like, oh, we have to kill a lot of people. Well, let's do that in a pseudo war of ways, right? But this was more of like, it almost feels like a more elaborate, like, sacrificial production than it does a war. And we'll get into it, but I'm just like, it's not even really like a battle. Like, it's more of like, okay, now the Aztecs are on the field. Like, it feels more like that. It's just like, okay.
Yeah. Just going for a football match.
Yeah, exactly. So they determined that. So after this declaration, Tenochtitlan, Texcoco, Tlaxcala, and Cholula, and Huezotzingo agreed to engage in the Flower War for the purpose of obtaining human sacrifices for the gods.
Okay.
So they're like, we'll give up our people. It's fine. But we'll make it fun. So the Flower Wars differed than typical war, as I kind of said. So competing armies would meet on a preset date at a pre-selected place.
Oh, so did you get like cute little invitations in the mail?
Yes, 100%. That's exactly what it was. So the places becoming actually sacred sites along the way.
Okay.
So, so the start of the war was signaled by burning a large pyre of paper and incense between the armies. So like and you know what I mean? Like this feels like an and match.
Yeah.
Tactical traditional warfare weapons were not used during these battles either. Quecholcohuatl was used, which required skill and close proximity. So think of like, it's not even like a cricket bat. Well, maybe. But think of like a baseball bat, but a little flatter, not as round. And then on the sides of it are like shoved in obsidian blades.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
I've seen it before.
Yeah.
I'm glad you explained it to everyone else, though.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's what they would be using instead of... Because when you said like traditional, like tactful weapons of war weren't used, I was like, what the fuck did they use then? Was it just like, we're going to go bare knuckle in there? Like,
exactly.
But these obsidian weapons make more sense as more ceremonial type stuff.
Yes.
But also like obsidian, that's fucked.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Lava glass?
Yeah.
Insane.
It's just sharp.
So they have Quecholcohuatl, which seems really cool, just in the sense of to build something like that.
Yeah, it's insane.
But they used it, they used this kind of weapon, allowed the Aztecs to display their individual combat ability, right? Because you have to be up close. So you have to be able to like defend and like go, like, you can't just like do arrows or, you know, a variety of other
spears or whatever.
Exactly. So, and this was a very important part of the Flower War as well. So less soldiers were also used in typical warfare, and a larger portion of the soldiers being drawn from nobility. Each side would also produce the same number of soldiers for the battle. So like if you gave 20, I would also give 20.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that they would also pull from nobility was because it was a skill set and it was like an honored death. Right? If you died in kind of this battle of sorts to appease the gods and sacrifice to the gods, then, you know, nobility
it was more of a
pulled.
prestigious ceremony rather than a classic blood feud war.
Right. Well, and they kind of, there's some debate on this from like a historian standpoint, but they used it kind of as like a combat training too.
Oh, okay.
To kind of be like, okay, well, learn how to do for the actual wars that we have, like up close battle as well.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, sure.
And like, why would I want to sacrifice my actual like 8+ warriors?
Right. When I can just get some like noblemen out there.
Right.
Yeah. So all of these characteristics of the war allowed the Aztecs to engage in the Flower Wars during any time of the year.
Okay.
Traditionally, larger wars of conquest only occurred during late autumn to early spring because the Aztec citizens were needed for farming purposes the rest of the year.
Right.
Which I was like, crazy that you're scheduling your wars.
Oh, it's about that time of year. It's war season.
It's harvest season. Time to kick off. Yeah, it's just weird. So those that died in the Flower Wars were considered to have died a more noble death, as it was to appease Huitzilopochtli, the supreme god of sun, fire, and war.
So these would be a heroic death.
These would be a heroic death, if we recall from our Dia de Muertos. Yes, exactly. So some historians believe the Flower Wars were used for combat training, capturing humans for religious sacrifices, and even showing the superiority of the Aztec troops. Okay. So a little bit like, let's put some of our good guys on display. And yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're peacocking a little bit. Exactly. So in 1446, real war broke out between the Aztecs and the Chalca. So according to the Amakeme historian Chimalpahin, this was due to the refusal of the Chalca people to contribute building materials to the temple of Huitzilopochtli. Okay. So the Chalca people were basically like, you're not getting shit from us. And they're like, no, but this is for Huitzi. Like, we love Huitzi. And they're like, now we're chill. Like, war. Naturally. So by 1465, Moctezuma I conquered Chalco, and the kings of Chalco were exiled to Huehuetlacanco. Okay. So basically all of those kings in Chalca were then just exiled. All right. To one area. Yeah. So that's kind of the history leading up to this song, this infamous song.
Oh my God, we're talking about a song.
You forgot about the song. You forgot about the song. So that happened by 1465.
Sure.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about the title of the section is called Making Peace.
Okay.
And love. So 14 years after being conquered by Moctezuma I and the Aztecs, the Chalcos wanted... basically, the Chalcan people became tired of the Dominion, and they wanted to be respected. Sure. At the end of the day, they were like, we want to be able to have more of a role in the governance, and we just want to be respected. Yeah. So more and more Chalca were being captured to be used as human sacrifices and contributing more food production to the empire. With a new generation coming to age by 1479, they began to bristle against the Aztecs' demands. Leaders in towns, especially in the noble class, sought to speak out against the Aztecs' continued oppression and demanded fair treatment, perhaps some autonomy, and or a more active role in governance. But of course, most importantly, respect.
Right.
So with this frustration swirling around, a group of musicians devised a plan for peaceful political prowess. So the group traveled to Tenochtitlan to freely offer tribute and perform as mere entertainment for the great leader of the Aztecs. Okay. So this emperor, Asayacatl, is the emperor of the Aztecs at the time. So in secret, the musicians would perform a song with a coded message, basically saying, we know what you're doing is wrong, and you know it too. Okay. So this is a very dangerous game, as the Aztecs treated disloyalty and dissent in harsh ways. Yeah. On top of that, musical performances were taken very, very seriously by the Aztecs. Yes. And performers who displeased them would be brutally punished, such as
murder,
ripping out their still beating heart with their bare hands, and wearing their flayed skins like a cape. You know, casual things.
Yeah, that's minor.
Right. Nothing super intense.
Okay.
Yeah. It was, the flayed skin part is really a theme that's kind of being carried. That's like a lot to really kind of think about. But like very Indiana.
I was going to say Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Like still beating heart. Like that very mythical. Correct. But I have to think, do you practice that to like break the rib cage through the skin and then rip it out? Or do you think it's cut and then ripped out?
It has to be cut. And I know they say with bare hands, but you have to at least probably get in there to open up the cavity.
And then you can
you can grab the heart that's still beating.
So like it's a little like performative, right? They're like, okay, like give the emperor a little bit of like a yeah. And then he's like, and then everyone's like, oh my god.
Yeah, I think it's like when like a sport team like bursts through the paper to run onto the field. They do a little pre-cut first, so they can actually push through.
There is definitely a little pre-cut action happening, 100%. So, could you imagine if they didn't do that? Just like because of the tension, right? That is hysterical. All right. So, due to knowing this, the pressure apparently got to the lead singer. Due to knowing that, like, his heart might be ripped out of his chest while it was still bleeding, he got to the lead singer and he fainted right before the performance and could not be revived.
Oops.
So, didn't die, and I like to think that he fainted and then was like, kind of like slightly opening his eyes.
Like open his one eye.
Are we good? No, I can't be revived. No, don't stop trying. Shit's fine. Quecholcohuatl came forward and offered to be the lead singer.
Was he part of this band originally or no?
So he joined the whole practice thing, and he was like, "I'll come with," and then so he was part of the group. And then when the lead singer died, he was like, I'll do it. So, stepping over the original singer, he called for the musicians to begin their song, which is amazing.
Great imagery. Yeah.
Right? So, the piece was called the Chalca Women's Song. It was revolutionary at the time, and it called for the lead singer to perform it as if he were a female prisoner of war and taken as a concubine for the king.
Oh.
I know. So this, of course, was to draw a parallel of an enslaved woman to an enslaved kingdom. Mm-hmm. It is also a long song.
Yeah.
It's quite long. I was like, maybe I can I'll just pull the lyrics. And then it was 8 pages of not only translation and song, but I was like, Jesus.
It's more of an epic poem type of song.
Yeah. Very much so. So women were seen as equals to men in times of peace, but were condemned to sex slavery by the victors in times of war.
That's bullshit.
Right? I was like...
Don't pick and choose.
Exactly. So such a sanction was then passed on to their children as well.
Oh,
unfortunately. Yeah, I know. So in the song, it starts with the woman initially attempting to regain agency by flirting with her master.
Okay.
So some quotes, some lyrics here. What if I were to pleasure him? Will you ruin my body painting? What will lie watching what comes to be a green flamingo bird flower? It's a Quetzal popcorn flower, a flamingo raven flower. You lie on your flower mantled mat, it lies inside. You lie in your golden reed mat, it lies in the feathered cavern house. You get it.
Yeah.
Feathered cavern house, your reed. You get it. A flamingo raven flower.
No, I get it. I get
it. Later in the house, the Chalcan woman's heart breaks and she remembers her life before the war. She remembers she's a child of a noble woman and her children were to be rulers one day. So, quote, as a noble girl child, I was spoken of in connection with my marriage. It is infuriating. It is heart-rendering here on earth. I worry and fret. I consume myself in rage. In desperation, I suddenly say, hey, child, I would as soon die. So I would as soon die is intended to emphasize her despair upon losing any hope of raising influential children.
Sure.
Because obviously all she can do is raise influential children. Right. So at the song's end, the Chalcan woman offers to live with the ruler without bitterness if and only if she is treated with respect.
Oh, okay.
Right. The pre-Aretha Franklin respect. So, quote, don't let your heart take a needless tumble. Here in your hand, come along, holding me by hand. Be content on your reed mat, on your throne. Sleep peacefully, relax. You who are kind, Aseacatl.
Okay.
Who is the emperor.
Right.
So the song forced the listeners to contemplate the glories of war through the eyes of victims who had no ability to fight back.
Yeah.
Right? So similarly done in Euripides, in case people are more familiar with Greeks. Euripides, the Trojan women, where it forced ancient Athenians to grapple with the morality of war. Right? So Quecholcohuatl's performance was, of course, remarkable, because of course it was. It was noted that, quote, he accompanied himself on a gilded drum so skillfully that the drum itself sang aloud and matched its voice to his.
Oh.
I know. I want to have a voice so renowned that inanimate objects
also sing with you?
Also sing with me, right? How amazing. So the skill and power and emotion Quecholcohuatl brought to the piece gave energy to the musician group and accompanying dancers to move as one and support his vocals with the right strength for powerful effect.
Oh, okay.
So basically, like, they just like fed into the energy
They
and
felt
knew
the vibe. Yeah.
Exactly. Vibes all around. So in the midst of the performance, the emperor came forth from inside the palace and approached the musicians. Which, terrifying.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're like,
Right.
is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
Rip my heart out.
He's been just hanging out in there,
Yeah.
and now he's here. Ooh. So, this emperor was about 30, known for his athleticism and prowess in battle. AKA, he was just like hot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right. I was like the historian way to say he was hot.
as
right.
fuck.
Exactly. To every single person's astonishment, he joined the performance.
Oh.
I know. So, quote, when he reached the dance floor, he lifted up one foot, completely happy in hearing the music, and began to dance and move in circles.
Okay.
This was an extraordinary honor, and the Chalcans believed their plan had gone well.
Yeah.
Of course, right? The weird thing is that, like, the song is about, like, a woman in despair,
Right. Yeah.
but, like, I get it. You know what I mean? Sure. So when the song ended, the emperor abruptly left into the interior of the palace. So they're like, oh, fuck. Like, he was loving everything, and now he just, like, ran away.
Right.
So they were like, oh. So the musicians were left stunned and nervous with such a quick and odd ending to a potentially great experience, right? So suddenly, a grand courtier approached the group and demanded Quecholcohuatl follow him at once, alone.
Oh, I think I see where this is going.
So Quecholcohuatl was incredibly terrified.
Yeah.
But followed as he remembered he was a Chalcan and he was on a mission.
Yeah.
He wanted to ensure the Aztec court didn't see his fear and moved with the courtier proudly. So he was brought to one of the emperor's inner chambers.
Oh, you know what happens at inner chambers.
You know what happens in the inner chambers. Covered cavern. So he found the emperor surrounded by his wives and concubines. Quecholcohuatl.
There's an audience?
Oh, it's a whole thing.
Okay.
I imagine he's like on his like bed of like pillows and things.
Yeah.
And like all of the women are like splayed very like Princess Leia style, like around him.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
They're not just standing in a
don't
half
think-
circle.
I don't think any standing
Yeah.
was being had. So Quecholcohuatl bowed and greeted the ruler with the traditional signs of like obedience by touching earth to his lips. So it's kind of like this scooping method of doing that. So he began a formalized, ritualized greeting of self-denigration, a general custom in Aztec culture.
Sure.
Right? Sure. So the emperor cut Quecholcohuatl off and explained that he loved the song.
Oh,
He was like, enough.
great.
I love you. Also, as a side note, he was deeply attracted to the singer himself.
Yeah.
He was like, oh my God, amazing song. Also, you're kind of hot. So,
pick that up.
real quick. So the emperor offered to take Quecholcohuatl to bed and promised him a prominent position at court, but he would have to promise to only sing for the emperor.
Oh.
He's like, I'll bone down and I'll give you a prominent position in court, but you can't sing for anyone else.
You're my personal bard.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which I was just like, I love that what Quecholcohuatl was winning was a throwdown. He's like, number one,
Yeah.
you can have sex with me. Number two, court and riches and other things. For right.
Sure.
But remember, number one, prowess in battle.
Right.
Yeah. Okay?
I'm historically hot.
Right. At this point, I imagine he is just wearing like a loosely covered loincloth.
Right. That like blows in the breeze a little
Right.
bit.
And I'm like, you don't have to tease anyone. You're the emperor.
Yeah.
So, but you know, love, I guess. So smiling,
Yeah.
Quecholcohuatl agreed, and the emperor joyfully told his wives, quote, "My women, stand up and meet him, and find him a seat among you. Here has come your rival." Damn. You're like, look out.
Okay.
I know. Which, as like women, I don't know if you're like, oh, this bitch, or if you're like, oh, thank God, like, be done and go do what I want now.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
New fascination, exactly. So after some time, the emperor sent Quecholcohuatl back out of the palace. I like after some time. Yeah, it took a minute. All right,
not even like get breakfast in the morning.
No,
you're out.
This was just like, give me. Yeah, I want to say more than like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I would hope. A little bit of like flirting,
right?
Maybe some grapes involved. Who knows?
There's a room full of people. Like
anything can happen. Right, exactly. So after some time, so he sent him back out of the palace to meet his fellow musicians, but not without some regal clothing: a cloak, a loincloth, and sandals, all richly decorated and embroidered with jade. And it's like, damn, okay.
Jade's big though.
Jade's big.
Yeah.
So jade this year. Huge. So the musicians were elated when they saw him, as gifts of clothing were traditionally exchanged among rulers.
Yeah.
I want to say that I pictured like them all clapping and cheering, and then this man is like limping out, like you don't know what just happened in there. Okay. So the musicians celebrated lavishly that night in the capital, having had a successful day of resetting the relationship between Chalca and the Aztecs.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a big assumption that like from this one evening, now everything is fine. It gets there, but basically that's what kicked off, right?
Yeah.
So a few wins coming from the event. Quecholcohuatl and his companions quickly became national heroes among the Chalcans. The Aztecs raised the status of Chalco and treated it with respect.
Nice.
I know. The Chalco woman's song became an enormous hit whose popularity reached across ancient Mexico and endured generations.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's like this 8-page long fucking song. Its fame was such that the city where Quecholcohuatl was from became famous and laden with honors.
Oh.
They're like, this song's so great and the singer was so amazing, the town that he's from is now
famous.
Natural place. Yeah, makes sense. 100 years later, during 1560s, after the Spanish conquest, the song was sung again, but this time flung in the face of the Spaniards for the mistreatment of the native people of Mexico. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It spanned 100 years. People remember
crazy.
the song.
Yeah.
It's bananas. What's a 1924 song that you know?
Ooh. I think my memory really only goes back to the big band era of the 40s.
See? It doesn't span 100 years.
Okay, but like any Beethoven song?
Yeah, name me one.
For Elise. The easiest one.
Dick. But that's just lyrics. You know what I mean?
Okay, how about the Odyssey or the Iliad, both epic poems that were performed in song back in old Greek theaters?
I guess.
Any Shakespearean work.
But could you like just perform that? That's what I'm saying. Like there's not like written version. Well, I guess there's like a written version, but it's not like in the mass. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, keep going. You're right. Okay. Yeah. Is that what you wanted to hear?
No.
So Quecholcohuatl and Azayacatl continued their relationship, which was considered honorable and a source of pride for Chalco.
I'm glad it wasn't a one and done,
right?
Or like a booty call situation.
Correct. Oh, so that's a long distance for a booty call. And then I'm going to go all the way back to Chalco and then all the way back to the palace. Yeah. So Aztec sexual preference, practice, and identity were all relatively fluid concepts.
Oh, yeah.
So embracing them openly and honestly was seen as an essential part of the joy of living. Even a great Aztec emperor could father many children and be attracted to men as well.
Yeah.
So sadly, the emperor died very young, only living 2 more years from the start of their relationship.
No way.
I know. And Quecholcohuatl lived to be an old man and survived the Spanish conquest. Towards the end of his life, he chose to be baptized as Christian and took the name Don Jeronimo. Don, as his honorific, speaks to his fame and high status he still held in the colonial area.
Wow.
So that is the story of Quecholcohuatl and this amazing song of peace and some Aztec history for you.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's something you don't really you don't really hear about.
Right?
Yeah.
And gay.
And gay.
But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I'm glad I got to kind of 2 weeks in a row for me talk about some Aztec history here. So thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you to all of you. Make sure you follow us and subscribe at WDYK_podcast. Comment, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Watch us on Spotify and the tubes of you and all the things. So we will catch you next time. Cool?
Cool.
Great.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Welcome back, everybody, to What Do You Know with Nick and Devin. I am Nick.
Oh, we're doing that?
I thought that'd be fun. Well, too late now. Missed the moment.